Americans William D. Nordhaus and Paul M. Romer won the 2018 Nobel Economics Prize for work in integrating climate change and technological innovation into economic analysis. How were climate change and technology the breakthroughs for economics? The 2018 Nobel Prize for Medicine is awarded to discoveries of new approaches in harnessing the immune system to fight cancer. What will this mean for health developments for human beings? 18 Japanese scientists have received Nobel Prizes consecutively since the year 2000. What's the secret behind Japan's success in Nobel Prizes and scientific research? The most recent Chinese Nobel Prize winner was Dr. Tu Youyou in 2015. With China advancing in scientific research, how long will it be until the next Chinese Nobel Prize laureate?
That's a good question. The Nobel Prizes and the laureates who were awarded those prizes once more were noted this year, and with climate change and technological innovation being the breakthroughs for economics. Will advanced research bring an impact to our life? How should we fight against sexual violence for women? And why does the Nobel Prize hardly favor Chinese scientists? To discuss these issues and more, I'm happy to be joined in the studio by Rick Dunham, a current visiting scholar from Tsinghua University, and Wang Yan, a senior specialist from the National Institute of Education Sciences. We shall also be joined from Japan via satellite by Naoyuki Yoshino, the Dean and the CEO from the Asian Development Bank Institute, and from Romania via phone by Fraser Cameron, the Director of EU Asia Center. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Rui. Welcome to the discussion here. Two American economists received the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences, William Nordhaus for integrating climate change into long-term macroeconomic analysis, and Paul Romer for integrating technological innovations into long-term microeconomic analysis. Do you think the judges on the Nobel Committee in Scandinavian countries set their eyes more on methodology in their scientific research or on the substance itself?
I think in this it was the substance, and the fact that the two economists are not working together, but they both deal with the impact of modern issues, innovation and climate change on macroeconomics. The Nobel Committee wanted to send a message about innovative thought and about the results of your research.
Wang Yan, are you impressed by the breakthroughs in all of these sciences for the laureates this year around?
Yes, indeed. I think this embraced or addressed the most pressing challenges actually faced by many countries in the world. To us now, the growth is not a matter of pace, but also it concerns more about quality and sustainability, and inclusiveness. That's why climate change and technological innovation becomes the centerpiece of this Nobel Prize for this round.
Former Vice President of the United States Al Gore won Nobel Peace Prize somehow for his enormous contributions to alerting the public attention to the issue of climate change. Let me cross over to our Japanese guest speaker. Hello.
Hello.
I wonder...
Hello.
Hello, this is Yang Rui in Beijing. I wonder if you have got the sweeping jubilation from the general public in your country, and especially from the media, towards, say, the once again winning a Nobel Prize in natural sciences. Now, we are absolutely amazed by the fact that every year since the year 2000, Japan delivers one laureate for Nobel Prize. Tell us why. Share with us the secrets, please.
I think Japanese researchers are all interested in some innovative research where something has not been solved. I think that they have a very pure mind. We have to achieve something, or we have to solve something. And natural sciences are basically related to mathematics. So I think there is not so much language barriers for them to do their research. And also technological progress and natural sciences has been very much stressed since after World War II. That was the two reasons why many Japanese scientists have been received Nobel Prize in the past.
Are you aware that all people in Asia share the same honor and glories that come from our neighboring country of Japan? It's not about ethnic advantages, it's about an issue of common pride for all of those in Asia and indeed around the world.
I think it is very important. Poverty reduction and continuous economic growth and environmental issues. Those are all very important in the globe. So I think especially this year, the Nobel Prize winner in economics were focusing on those global issues. And that will impress many people. Especially in climate change was not so much very high attention in 1970s and 80s. And Professor Nordhaus was pointed out the importance. And Professor Romer was talking about economic growth and innovation. Everybody knew those are very important issues. However, Professor Romer showed it in a very simple manner and very easy way to understand everybody. So I think both of them had a very high value to achieve those goals.
Thank you very much, Noyuki, for your very generous and warm comments on why Japanese scientists have been able to win the Nobel Prize, but also globally, why climate change has captured public attention. Now let me cross over to Fraser Cameron on the phone. Hello, Fraser.
Hi, yes.
Why do you think this year around, Mr. Moon Jae-in, President of ROK, and President of the United States failed to win the Nobel Peace Prize? Instead, the award has been given to one, a medical doctor in Congo, the other a raping victim from northern Iraq.
Well, firstly, I don't think the Moon-Trump duo has actually achieved very much. I mean, they have met and the rhetoric has come down. It's basically a triangle because it's Moon, Kim Jong-un, and Trump. Secondly, I think the Nobel Committee realized they made a big mistake some years ago when they nominated President Obama after just a few months in office, and that was not regarded as being a great success. And thirdly, I think people really respect the committee reaching out to the work of a doctor in the Congo and a victim of rape, because this is one of the great issues of our time, sexual violence. So I think the world will really appreciate the choice that was made this time round.
Thank you so much. In fact, the Nobel Peace Prize that went to a Congolian doctor, Mr. Mukwege, reminds me of a Hollywood blockbuster entitled Tears of Heaven. I wonder if you have seen this movie. It's a story about a doctor who insists on taking care of the patients in the local hospital despite the imminent threat of a group of gangsters who eventually slaughtered all of the patients in the hospital.
Right. So I know of the movie. I have not seen it, but I do think this is very significant, the awards this year. It has to be something that will be universally popular, unlike some years where the Nobel Peace Prize is a political statement by the committee. I mean, this is a political statement that rape should be on the same level as chemical weaponry, biological weapons, and just off the table when it comes to war. And it really, I think the Nobel Committee wants to do that. But these are two very deserving people. A doctor who has saved and changed lives in Congo, and a Yazidi woman who had turned from victim to activist and leader in working with the United Nations to spread the word around the world that women should not be the targets of the male warriors during combat around the world.
Some representatives of the women's lib movement said unless and until rights of women could be recognized, namely by drawing red line for raping and war crimes, world peace could hardly be achieved. Do you think this holds some ring of truth, Wang Yan?
Well, it was once said that the political order, first of all, the sexual political order, that is, the woman and man, naturally they shapes the political structure, and so unless the woman who nowadays in most cases in many countries in the world are still underrepresented in most of the critical decision makings and the political processes, unless this could be changed, still all those issues related to the gender equity could be an issue, and women could still be the victims of worry and rapes, etc.
2 years ago, Dr. Denis Mukwege of Congo said, we have been able to draw a red line against the chemical weapons, biological weapons, and nuclear arms. We must also draw a red line against the rape as a weapon of war. Does it indicate that sex has become a very effective means in killing the enemy during the war? What does that mean for world peace today?
Well, sadly, this goes back to the beginning of humankind. And if you read the Iliad, if you read ancient Greece, if you read ancient China, you see that this has always been the case. I think in the modern world, the patriarchal system has made women into victims and has allowed male warriors to consider women often to be the trophies of war or terror targets to terrorize the local population. And I think what the winner, the Nobel Prize winner, is telling us is that this is a crime against humanity, that this is the same level as other crimes that are not acceptable. I don't know if it will change because so much of the world is, and so much extremism is male-dominated and is responsible for subjugation of women. But I think the world, the civilized world, needs to send this message that it's not acceptable, that people will be charged with war crimes, and see if it makes any difference. Even if it makes a little difference, even if it saves tens of thousands of lives, that's good.
Dr. Wang Yan, I wonder if you can share with us your thoughts on why most of the victims of sexual violence choose to be quiet instead of breaking the silence in voicing their anger and in protecting their own rights.
Well, culturally, I think this is probably associated or with the women's inclination, when they tend to be silent and as a way to protect their own reputation. And also psychologically, it's hard to break through their own self-esteem to declare that what has hurt them. Well, and but that's why I think this year's Nobel Prize laureates really deserve it, because not only she has saved many, helped protected many people through her own activities, but she could really speak out by breaking through that kind of self-esteem as one of the outstanding women that many women in the world should follow suit. Only in this way that women can protect their own rights, and less and less women would be hurt.
Yeah, Dr. Mukwege is one of the few lucky laureates. Most would choose to be in obscurity instead of enjoying the glow of the glories. Let me cross over to our Japanese guest speaker. What do you think of the message that this year's Nobel Peace Prize delivers to the rest of the world?
I think that the Peace Prize was focusing on women and also that the weak people. I think that is a very strong message to the world. And we have to not to follow the wars and battles, but we should follow peace. And also, in order to follow peace, we have to follow the basic structure of that politics and society, and everything has to work together. So I think that war is always victimize female and children and weak people. So that is a strong message to the world.
Congratulations once again on your scientist winning the Nobel Peace Prize for Natural Sciences. Now tell us more about this laureate. How much do you know about him, his silent contributions and dedication in the laboratory?
I think that he has a very basic knowledge to keep on focusing on his own research, how to solve the issues. I think many Japanese scientists are very pure, and they are looking for the problems and try to tackle those problems. And nobody I heard in those scientists had looking for a Nobel Prize winner, but they are just looking for very seriously to focus on his own research and then contributing to the society. I think that pure mind is very important. Even in the economics and other fields, they are very much basic oriented, and I think that would be very strong message to young people, young students, what they should focus on. They should focus on what are the problems which are not solved. I think those are the basis of any kind of research in the field.
Thank you very much for your enlightening remarks and analysis about the tranquility and peace of mind of those scientists who only focus on the academic research out of strong curiosity instead of being ego-driven. Yet another question on Japan. The government in Japan has issued the
Yes.
Science and Technology Basic Plan, which is drawn up based on Science and Technology Basic Law every 5 years since 1996. Now they have their 5th edition. The purpose of this plan seems to make Japan the most innovation-friendly country in the world. Tell us more about the ambition and vision of the Japanese government.
I think Professor Domer got the Nobel Prize because of innovation and technology. I think there are 3 or 4 factors for economic growth. As I mentioned, economic growth is very important in anywhere. Poor people cannot survive very well. I think what will create economic growth? One of them is education, and then fluent capital flow to support to small businesses and so on, and technological innovation and infrastructure investment. And in any kind of economic growth, technological development, innovations are very important. That is why Japan was focusing on innovative education so much, because Japan does not have any resources. Only we have is human resources. Then we have to develop the technological progress. That is the basic reason. And all at the same time, because of Japanese aging population, and new mind of innovative mind is gradually decaying, because elderly people will just follow their past life. So I think it is very important to encourage many innovative ideas, even in aging society. Elderly people needs robot to help him. Then we should develop those technologies. So I think any kind of generations, the technological progress is very important. That was directed by Japanese government for everybody in Japan.
Very quickly and very generally, Noyuki, do you think this growing sense of crisis of a small island nation also serves as a driving force behind the success of your academic research, particularly for winning the Nobel Prize?
Okay, I think natural sciences applies all over the world. And I think that is why that any kind of researchers, anywhere, can find out the solves and then solve those problems. So wherever they stay, I think I can sure that they can try to achieve very good research results. However, the social sciences are slightly different, because each country will facing with different economic growth and so on. But the science, technology, I think that applies many countries, and it is a common theme for all the nations.
Thank you very much, Noyuki, for your analysis. Dr. Wang Yan, are you sure, given the unique political institutions in China, the academic integrity of Chinese scientists, and particularly what we said about the peace and tranquility of those minds, could be protected so that they could be left alone? academic integrity, on freedom of thinking, independent thinking, and independent academic research, that kind of virtues should be protected unconditionally, unless and until you can get this job done for the scientists. Are you optimistic that there will be more laureates other than the glow of such a prize for Dr. Tu Youyou?
Well, I do think these are very important factors that contribute to the innovation, like academic integrity and the favorable environment for the researchers and scholars in China. But I would like to draw your attention to other important things that I think that contribute to the success of Japan, in particular for success of these Nobel Prize laureates. The first is in terms of administrative structure, I wonder if you have noticed, in Japan there is the MEXC, that's Ministry for Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology. That means the education, science and technology are structured coherently into one administrative or governing body. Administrators in the field of education, science and technology, they work in one system coherently for the purpose of the education of the future or potential inventors or the creators or the scientists. But in China, we have two ministries. One is the Ministry of Education, the other is Ministry of Science and Technology, like in many countries in the world. So in spite of all these cross-sector efforts, the departmentalism exists universally. So I think this unique structure does help. The second thing is, if we look at the United States and Japan and many other countries, the students in primary schools, they start to learn science in year 1. And also you will see they very much stress to teach the students to think like a scientist since year 1 in primary school. But in China, physics are taught starting from the year 2 or year 3 of the middle school, that's lower secondary schools. That make a real difference.
Dr. Wang, I'm afraid yet another major problem that has upset most of the professors and scientists in universities, for example, is the lethal lure of office politics, power in office politics. I mean, more people seem to show more interest in being promoted as an administrator instead of adhering to the academic path, to be purely a scientist, to only focus on education itself.
Well, this is really related to academic culture that originated from our 1,000 years ago, like the academic excellency leads to officialdom. People still regard the success in the bureaucracy or officialdom.
How do you translate this into Chinese? 学而优则仕.
学而优则仕, yes.
Rick, let me know more about how Americans have been able to win the biggest number of laureates since the end of the Second World War, and perhaps throughout the history of Nobel Prizes.
Well, to me, the bottom line is, as our Japanese colleague said, purity. But it's, to me, intellectual curiosity. Most Americans who have won these prizes, whether it is economics or in the sciences, are researching big topics. They need adequate funding. You need government funding or university funding, foundation funding. But then you need to leave them alone and explore. I mean, when I grew up, my next door neighbor was a young man named Saul Perlmutter, who a few years ago won the Nobel Prize for Physics at the University of California at Berkeley. I mean, he and his sisters, Shira and Tova, are 3 of the smartest people I ever knew. He's been researching black holes. Black holes are not going to make the economy more efficient, but it's a big thought, and he was given the opportunity. And there was not interference from his school administration. There was not interference from the government. He doesn't want to be the minister in the cabinet of the President of the United States. I think that's what does it. You have to let people explore big topics instead of having your research being policy driven. Now, you can have research that wants innovation in artificial intelligence or something else, and you will have societal gains, but you're not going to win Nobel Prizes. There's a difference of encouraging research that will move your economy ahead and encouraging research that will win Nobel Prizes.
You put your finger on a very interesting point, namely, it seems that the Chinese lay more emphasis on applications of the theories instead of a purely theoretical strength of your academic research. Do you think this has been a constant concern for the Chinese if they were to win a Nobel Prize? This could be a major obstacle that gets in the way.
Well, I think in my personal experience and also in my view, what probably needs to be more stressed in our academic research is methodology itself. If we look at the program of our postgraduate training, there are much fewer training or courses of methodological courses compared to those with the United States or Japan or many developed economies in the world. I think methodology counts. If we want to really have the invention or creation, innovative, even with an innovative mind, without scientific methodology, how could a person achieve the real success in the scientific innovation?
Let me cross over first of all, not first of all, let me cross over to our Japanese guest speaker for the last question. Now, quite a few years ago, later CFO of Baidu.com said to me privately, there's little hope for the Japanese to make any breakthroughs in the area of artificial intelligence or digital technology, because in this particular area, strong personality of the people is badly needed. Look at Japan, where obedience and politeness have been the hallmark of their national character. So he didn't speak highly of an academic excellency about Japan. What do you think of his prediction and analysis, Yoyuki?
China has developed very well in those Baidu and also a payment system. I think financial technology will be developed in several years from now. So I think that applying to those technologies into finance is very important. Those are the practical application of the knowledge. But the Nobel Prize is slightly different. They have to have some pure, advanced, first-hand research and also innovative ideas and solutions. So I think the application and also pure research both has to go together. And I think current movement in China is much more focused on application. That is very good. But we hope that some of the Chinese will come into looking for the original question faced with many, many issues. I think that is important. And also pure mind to solve those issues are very important. It is not just based on university scores, high school scores. I think the pure mind of looking at actual problem and then make it in theoretical analysis and solve it. So those are the three steps. So applications and also pure sciences both together will create a good researcher and very highly appreciated researchers.
Thank you very much, Noyuki, for your suggestions on addressing the issue of maintaining equilibrium between Japan and China in terms of both applications and the pure mind of the scientists. Thank you so much for your meaningful participation in this dialogue on Nobel Prizes. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.